is, I'm sure, one of the vogue topic in today's IT industry. And today, Professor Rao is going to take us through this webinar on Certified DevOps Specialist. This is actually a precursor webinar on our certification program, which we are starting on DevOps Specialist. And I'm sure that we have a good set of people who have joined today are from various backgrounds. Some of you are from the IT background, some of you are aspirants, and some of you are students. Whoever that you may be, we are hoping that this 1 hour webinar is going to give you a great overview on this whole program, as well as this 1 hour of you spend time with Professor Rao to understand what is the career opportunities, what kind of capabilities that we are trying to build through this DevOps specialist certification. So just to give you a little background of what we would cover is that this program is going to have 3 parts, which is first, how do we containerize with Dockers? How do you orchestrate your software delivery with Kubernetes? And also to convert your entire code infrastructure as a code with Terraform. Very, very important technologies today, because all of you are moving to an agile-based delivery, building, developing, deploying, and scaling, right? So it is so important that you understand this, how this DevOps pipeline works. And it's an important skill to be added into your resume if you are doing whatever the other activities that you are doing today. So we are so glad that today Professor Rao is going to help us to understand this evolving technologies and building this whole DevOps pipeline. And we are going to see the various technologies involved in this. Professor Rao himself is a veteran in the area with 24 plus years of experience. He is one of the distinguished mentor with RACE. RACE is the entity which is hosting this program. And I am, on behalf of everyone here, welcoming Professor Rao to this session. And he has been a mentor, trainer, plus implementer, plus consultant advisor to various organizations, and have deployed software applications across industries. So I think he is going to be the right person for us to understand this changing landscape. And before we move on with the webinar, let me introduce us, because those who are new to us or those who are aware about us, we are Reva University. This is a premier private university located in North Bangalore, within a sprawling 45 acres of land. It's one of the greenest campuses in the country, being recognized by various agencies, which includes AICT, UGC, etc. We have a vibrant community of 15,000 plus students, 2,000 plus staff catering to their needs. We offer about 50 plus courses in UG, 20 plus PG courses, along with PhDs and other courses in these 4 or 5 faculty. Our main forte is engineering and technologies, and other schools are commerce and management student studies, architecture, education, science and technologies, arts and humanities, and legal studies. We have this division called Reva Academy for Corporate Excellence. We call it as RACE in short. Is a very specialized entity within Reva University, promoting continuing education, because education cannot be done only at the graduate level or postgraduate level. It has to continue. Even if you are a 30-year-old experienced working professional, or a CIO or a CTO, whoever that you are, continuing education is a must today, just to survive or just to thrive. And RACE creates that ecosystem for people to transition into various careers that today the market has opened up. We do 3-4 things. We have master's programs, long-term programs. We do short-term customized programs, the one which we are launching today, which is the certified DevOps programs, along with other programs. And we also have research and consulting activities going on. And we are in these emerging technologies since about 7 to 8 years: data science, AI, cloud, cybersecurity, and even techno-functional leadership. How do we operate here? We have a beautiful ecosystem of very, very hungry learners who wants to learn and apply and transition not just their careers, but organizations as such. So we have about 1,000 plus mid and senior executives getting trained every week at our campuses or in an online mode. These working professionals have been helped or assisted by 50 plus senior industry leaders, where mentors like Professor Rao plays a very pivotal role in changing their skill sets. And we continuously are focusing on creating new age courses catering to the organizational demands. And we have been promoted, or we have been endorsed by the industry as one of the best in terms of return on investment. So we have about 100 plus companies hiring, especially for lateral placements. And all our details, or all these kinds of outreach sessions that we do, are available in our YouTube videos, which you can check Reva University online. If somebody from our team can share the YouTube link there in the chat, you can always look at. And we also have multiple projects which are going on, sponsored by companies. And typically our profile is going to be a set of people who are with 4 years of experience up to 25 plus years of experience, mostly men, to some extent women. We definitely want to promote more women into these kind of programs. So if you are a woman and looking for trying to change your career, then please, I'm sure that this is going to be the right platform for you. We have an excellent ecosystem. So today, Professor Rao is going to explain to you about how cloud-based DevOps cycle works. He's going to use maybe Azure and AWS quite extensively. So we have multiple such partner ecosystem where you will get a lot of hands-on learnings through the mentors. And all our programs, we actually boast that we are very pioneering the kind of education that which is required today in terms of practical, industry-driven, and very futuristic technologies with skill and competency building as our focus. These are the programs that which we typically offer as a 2-year open programs for working professionals. We have a 2-year business analytics program. We have an AI program. We have a cybersecurity program. We have a cloud architecture and security. And these are AICTE UGC approved. That means you have the peace of mind of having these programs as adding to your resume. And not just that, it is not just resume building courses, but your life transitioning courses is what we would say, because of the kind of ecosystem that you get access to. We also have short-term training programs in these areas, and one of this that we will discuss today along with Professor Rao. Right, so I hope you would look into what we offer, not just this webinar, but on an overall that we have a series of things. So whatever that your interest is, it could be short-term, it could be a small webinar like this, it could be a master's program, or it could be even research-driven projects. Whatever that you are looking for, we are sure that you are going to get some help from us. So please do look at Reva Academy for Corporate Excellence, race.reva.edu.in website. And I would request my team to post our website as well. So now coming to the webinar on Certified DevOps Specialist with Professor Rao. He would continue the webinar till about an hour, and then we will also curate the questions. So we would request all of you to put your questions on the chat and ensure that you are on top of the things with a notepad, if possible. Make notes. And we also are very immediately launching this full-fledged program, which actually brings in the real skill sets, and you can use this as a reason for your career transition into DevOps. So without much further ado, let me welcome Professor Rao. It has always been a pleasure to listen to Professor Rao. He actually, I think for him, learning and sharing the knowledge has been in his DNA, and an amazing mentor, amazing support for all of us. And we are so glad to have you, Professor, here today. And over to you. And we would request you to take it over. I'm going to change my screen sharing. You can go ahead and share your screen, Prof.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am. Okay. So let me introduce myself as Shinu told. So my name is Paparao and I'm from Bangalore. Hope my voice is clear. There is no noise, right? Background noise.
Yes, all clear, all clear.
Perfect. So I'm from Bangalore. I have like around 25 years of 25 plus years of IT experience. And for the last 14 plus years, I'm completely working on the cloud, DevOps, DevSecOps, and the data ops sections. And I do a lot of consultation as well as I do here and there the corporate trainings also. But yeah, the training is like say kind of my passion actually. The training is my passion. So yeah, because of this interest only, right? Like say the race gave me an opportunity, like say a good opportunity to share my knowledge and right to teach for the seniors, like say who are all the working professionals in these all the programs which you have seen already. Right. So let me get into this the topic of the webinar on a certified DevOps specialist. So meanwhile, what I'll do is I'll just stop my cam because I want to share the screen and the transition should be smooth. Right. So what exactly, like, see, the way we designed this course and what is the main objective of this course? Because we have seen the batches that are coming out from these skill sets. Like, see, we have data science batches, that is analytics batches, and we have cyber security batches, and we have AI batches, and we have, like, say, the cloud architect batches, and all these batches are coming. And yeah, we want to like say give some kind of, or we want to complement their knowledge with this particular course, because whether you take AI, we are using DevOps. Whether you take like say security, we are using DevOps. Whether you take like say analytics, we are using DevOps actually. So we want to design a course which need to help or which need to complement all these batches. Means all the people who are like say completing or who are like say doing it, as well as this course has to be at par with our industry requirements also. So this is the way we balanced and we designed this course actually. Yeah, first let me explain you, like see how we designed this course and what are all the like say the pillars we have chosen from the DevOps automation and how we design this course, that I'll explain you step by step. So I don't want to like totally concentrate on that part, but let me just bring like say the concept of the DevOps here, and then like I will link the way we design the course to the towards this one actually. So without wasting time, let me just get into just a second. Yeah. So let me just get into here. Right. So let us see. We'll try to understand, because in the course, anyhow, we have a very detailed section about, like, say, what is DevOps in a management perspective? What do you mean by DevOps in the technical perspective? What do you mean by DevOps and in a migration perspective or automation perspective or in a QA perspective, right? Or in a cloud perspective? We have different ways of understanding the DevOps. Understanding, like, see, I'm a QA. I'm having the QA background, and by learning DevOps, what kind of work as a DevOps engineer I can perform actually. And I'm a developer, what kind of work? Or I'm an sysadmin, what kind of work I can perform? Or I'm a DBA, what kind of work I can perform? So in all these perspectives, we can see what is DevOps, and that, like, see, we will cover in the actual the course, let's say. But here, let me just quickly give you what exactly the DevOps and what is the DevOps lifecycle, and in what way we designed our course. And it just gives you kind of a little overview on the concept of the DevOps and what are all the DevOps tool sets and what is the today's need actually, and in which kind of, like, say, application development or in which kind of vertical we are using the DevOps automation, or is it suitable, whether the DevOps is for every organization, right? So for what are all the factors that will decide whether an organization has to choose, do we need to go for these DevOps practices or not? So this is my main agenda in this 1 hour course. Yeah, Kiran, you can go ahead.
I think we will keep the questions towards the end, Prof. So
right,
that
no
we
issues.
don't, yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. Right. So this is a kind of a definition. What is DevOps actually? This is nothing new which I wrote or something. It is like from the books or from the internet you can see. So the DevOps is the practice of operations and development engineers participating together in the entire service lifecycle from the design through the development process to the production support. So this is a very, very common definition, but let us analyze on this part. Let us analyze on this. So if you look at this definition here, if you look at the definition, so the areas that we need to keep it means we need to understand here is like, see, the DevOps is the practice of, it is a practice of operations and development engineers participating together. So you have to link all these things. We have to link all these things. Understand? So that means it is a participating together. It's a practice of participating together, or it is a practice of participating together. That means when you take DevOps, understand? So what we are saying here is it's a participating together. Understand? It's a practice of participating together. That means it's a collaborative practice, or we call it as a collaborative culture. Collaborative practice or a collaborative culture between the three teams. One is the dev team, another one is the QA team, and another one is the ops team. Between these three teams, right, we need to develop this culture, or we need to bring this practice into the organization. This collaborative practice, we need to bring it into the organization between these three teams. Now, if they collaborate among themselves, what kind of things they can achieve here? If they collaborate among themselves, they can come up with an excellent automation solution. But interesting, what need to be automated here? So there should be some kind of a process that need to be automated here. So what is the process which we are automating using this practice? Yes, the process that we are going to automate here is what we call it as the entire service life cycle. That means this process is nothing but our SDLC process, the software development life cycle. So means this is a process, whereas a DevOps, if you see, this is a culture. There is a huge difference between culture and a practice. The practice, see, the people have a wrong assumption about the DevOps. So the people think that DevOps itself is a process, but no, the DevOps is not a process. It is just a culture. Understand? So this is the culture we use to automate the process, which is basically the SDLC. Understand? See, there is an interesting point here. So the process is already in place in the organization since years. Like you have the SDLC process, which is already in place. So we are trying to automate that particular process using this culture. So that's why the DevOps itself is not a process. The DevOps is just a culture. Okay, when I say a process need to be monitored, and the process need to be followed, and the process will have compliance settings, organizational compliance, everything will be there. But whereas if I say a culture, example, if I give a fruit to you, and if I ask you go and eat this fruit, so what you will do? You will cut it, you will wash it first, then you will cut it and you will eat it. That's your culture. That need not be monitored. So what we are trying to do here is bringing this culture. And the management has to bring this culture in the organization, which is a real toughest task. bringing this culture into the, but if this culture is brought in the organization, right, you can see an excellent automation solutions in the organization. Now, let me analyze a little more on this part actually. What I'm saying is the process part. Now, if you see here, let us take an example. Right, look at this one. See, I'm saying that the process that we are going to automate here is the SDLC process, software development lifecycle. Initially, we were using waterfall model for our SDLC implementation, waterfall model. And as you know, all of you, the waterfall model follows what you call it as a top-down approach. It follows a top-down approach. That means you collect the requirements and finally you will deliver the project. But if you see the duration here, depending upon the size of the project, it will vary from months to years also. Example, unlike say, a simple like say use case, if I say, let us take for my project, it is the duration it is taking is, let us assume like say 8 months. 8 months. So 8 months itself is a very lengthy duration. So in always the waterfall model, the main challenge is this lengthy duration, because within this duration, one, the technology might have been changed. Two, my business model itself has been changed. My business model itself has been changed. So the time you deliver the project, the whole project might be irrelevant. So to address these challenges, right, in the next generation, we moved to a concept called as Agile. Now, I don't want to spend much time on the Agile process, right? In the course, we have a full-fledged, the Agile, like say, the section. The whole session covers only on the Agile part, but very high level. Let me just give you, when I say Agile, right, what are all the main three characteristics of the Agile process actually? One, it works on a modular concept. Number two, it supports parallel development. Number three, right, it works on a concept called as iterations, which are all interrelated. So the Agile, the main three characteristics of the Agile is one, modular, next two, parallel, and the next, it works on a concept called as iteration. There are so many Agile methodologies. So if I take the sample Agile methodologies, one we have XP, extreme programming, and two we have is called as Scrum. Two we have is called as a Scrum here. Understand? Now, if you take XP or the Scrum, in terms of Scrum or the XP, these iterations are called as sprints. And what is the max duration of a sprint? The max duration of a sprint will vary between 2 weeks to 4 weeks. That is the max duration. So what does it mean actually? Very simple. Now, if I take a very simple example, right, I have an application or a project. First, I need to modularize this project. Let us take, I have a module 1, module 2, module 3, like this. And I'm going to modularize in such a way that, right, this module will be delivered in one sprint. This module will be delivered in one sprint. This module will be delivered in one sprint. Now take this sprint is taking 4 weeks. And take this sprint is taking 2 weeks. And take this sprint is taking 3 weeks. So what does it mean? Within these 4 weeks, I have to complete the whole SDLC for this module. And within 2 weeks, I need to complete the whole SDLC for this module. And within 3 weeks, I need to complete the whole SDLC for this module. So when I say within 4 weeks, I need to complete the whole SDLC, as the last part of your SDLC, we will be having the UAT, user acceptance test, where the client also will be the member inside the UAT process. So that means after 4 weeks, I'll have a client interaction. After 2 weeks, I'll have a client interaction. I'll have 3 weeks, I'll have a client interaction. That means you will be having timely client interaction. Due to this timely client interaction, you can take the timely feedback from the client and you can incorporate those changes quickly into your process actually. That is the main reason behind the huge success of this agile processes. Able to understand? Now, here I'm saying that I'm using the agile process here or agile methodology. Understand? So I modularize my application. As I told you, in 4 weeks, I'm completing the module 1, the SDLC for the module 1. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? So I'll take the module 1. I'm going to code the module 1. And then I'm going to build it. Then I'm going to perform the unit test on this. Then I'm going to go for a packaging. So these packages are also called as artifacts. So this is what we say that the agile. We say that it is called as the agile. But this is the package which is individually tested using the unit test. But for my application, let us take, I have 10 modules. And each module, we packaged it. Now, independently, each package is tested. But as a whole application, I need to integrate all these packages. I need to perform the integration test here. And then I need to go for a release. And this is what we call it as CI, called as continuous integration. Right. See, till here it is not new, guys. It is there from ages. The time when people started using the Agile, we were talking about CI, and we have a lot of automation, servers, CI servers available in the market. This is not new. But according to the dev organization, they say that they are done with their Agile process. But according to the customer, until this release is gone to the production, according to the customer, the Agile is not completed. That means one of the most interesting thing that you always overlook in terms of Agile is production deployments. And that is the place where there is a lot of time lags available. Now we are done with the release here. Now I want to move to the production. So generally what we do, this has to be moved to the production. So in olden days, before DevOps, right, we give this release to the ops team, and ops team used to deploy this one manually to the production. And this is what they call it as continuous delivery. And you have a lot of challenges, and you have a lot of time delays. And doing the rollbacks, version rollbacks, these are all the challenges. And what are all the real challenges and all? Yes, I'll show you by example, I'll show you in the course and all. What are all those challenges? But this was the major limitation. At one point of time, due to these manual deployments to the production, at one point of time, if you go and see the doorsteps of the ops team, right, the modules are piled up, waiting for the deployment. That was a huge challenge. And this is where they started thinking about, why can't we automate this process? And once you automate this is called as continuous deployment. And our automation doesn't stop here. Once the things move to the production here, the next step here is in production, we will have the day-to-day operations. and let us automate these day-to-day operations. What do you mean by these day-to-day operations? Might be it is monitoring, might be it is log analytics, might be it is scaling, or might be it is backup and restore, anything it can be. Let us automate all these operations, and this is what we call it as continuous operations. Continuous operations. Now, if you see here, once you automate the operations, it is called as continuous. That means already the CI is automated. Now we are automating the continuous delivery. We are calling it as continuous deployment. And then we are automating the operations and we call it as continuous operations. So now my environment is end-to-end automated. End-to-end automated. And this is the main objective of the DevOps. This is the main objective of the DevOps. So in a theoretical or a management perspective, this is what do you mean by the DevOps. This is what do you mean by the DevOps. Now, if you look at here, guys, if you look at here, yeah, see here. So why did the DevOps happen in the technical perspective? DevOps is a combination of cultural philosophies and practices and tools that increases the organizational ability to deliver the applications and services at high velocity. So with the help of this automation, you can deliver your applications. Time to market your application will be very, very less actual. That's the major advantage. Understand? Yes. So what is DevOps? So this is what I told you. That's okay. So now if you see, I explained what is Agile and what is DevOps. That's why the people used to get confused. They think like, say, the DevOps is nothing but Agile. No, the DevOps is not Agile. And DevOps is the application of Agile methodology to the system administration. What do you mean by that? It means it's like the tricky sentence. DevOps is the application of Agile methodology to the system administration. To put it very simple, guys, DevOps complements your Agile. That is the point one. Point two, till now in my DevOps team, if you see, till now in my DevOps team, right, the product owners, dev, and the QA people will be there. Now, with the help of these DevOps practices, what we are trying to do here is we are trying to bring the ops team into the, we are trying to bring the ops team to the, wait. Yeah. So the ops team is outside. With the help of these practices, we are trying to bring the ops team into the Agile team actually. This is what we are bringing this culture. And once you bring this culture, yes, what you can achieve here? You can achieve here is like the complete. So first from the Agile, we move to the continuous integration, then to the continuous delivery, from the continuous delivery to the continuous development, continuous deployment, and then the continuous operations. And finally, we are trying to automate end to end. This is what we are achieving in the DevOps. That's why if you see the evolution part of the DevOps, look at this one. I'll come back to these things. If you see the evolution part of the DevOps, I just put it in a very simple pictorial way. See, initially it was the waterfall model. And from there, we move to the Agile. And if it is a product-based company, from Agile to the Lean. And then we have is a continuous integration. Then we move to the continuous delivery. Continuous delivery by automating the deployment. We are calling it as continuous deployment. And from the continuous deployment to the continuous operations, now your environment is end-to-end automated. End-to-end automated. And this is what we achieve as a part of the DevOps. That is the end-to-end automation is what we are achieving here. Able to understand? Yes or no? Right. Look at this. So this is good, guys. This is like we are keeping it, we are trying to understand what is DevOps in a management perspective, because bringing this culture, what is that culture, how it, like say, complements my Agile. This is what we understood. So this is more on the management perspective. But what exactly in a technical perspective, right? What is a DevOps engineer role here? What is a DevOps engineer role? Very simple. Look at this one. See, I already told you, when I say a DevOps, the two things we always look for the automation in terms of the DevOps is one is the CI/CD. We are trying to automate the CI/CD. Then we are trying to automate the operations. Now there is one interesting challenge here, guys. See, just to means that's why generally if you say the DevOps, mainly people talk about these two things. One is CI/CD and another one is right how you automate CI/CD, how you create the CI/CD pipelines, and how you automate the operations like this. Okay, so let us come to this point called as CD point and operations point. These two things, why I'm highlighting these two things is very simple. Take an example. Now, if I want to deploy an application, now take an example of, like, say, a very simple, any web application, say, example, a J2EE web application, if you take any J2EE web application. If I want to deploy my web application, what kind of environment you require? Yes, I required 2 VMs, which are for web server purpose. Another 2 VMs, I want it for app server purpose. And I want one load balancer. And I want another 2 VMs for DB cluster, for a DB cluster, example. And this is the kind of hardware I require. And on this hardware, on the first 2 VMs, I want to install the Linux and I want to install Apache. And another 2 VMs, I want to install Linux and I want to install Tomcat. And another 2 VMs, let us take, I want to install Linux and I want to install MySQL. That means this is the kind of OS and the software I require. And finally, on these, I'm going to deploy my application. So what do you mean by this? If I want to perform this step, that is the deployment step, that is what we are automating the deployment, that is pushing the application to this environment. Just don't think just the CD is just to push the application here. No. And this is the kind of environment I required always. So when I say an automation, end-to-end automation, I should be able to automate this whole thing here. Now in these, especially if you look at here, these two areas, if you look at, right? The first thing is provisioning the hardware. The next one is installing the OS and the software. And if you look at these two areas are related to the infra. That means when you want to automate the CD or when you want to automate the operations, the most important layer of automation, here is the infra layer. And without automating the infra, you cannot automate the CD or you cannot automate the operation. That's why I always say that the 3 automation pillars in the DevOps is, one is the infra, another one is the CI/CD, another one is operation. And the core strength of the DevOps is in the infra automation. Now, the practice of automating the infra is what we call it as IAC, called as infrastructure as code. Generally, we follow a 2-step mechanism to automate the IA, it means infra part. That is basically, the first one is called as model and provision. And the second one is called as configuration management. So what do you mean by this? So modeling and provisioning. So that is nothing but, see here, whenever you require to deploy a J2EE web application. Whenever you require to deploy a J2EE web application, this hardware is my definition. This is the kind of hardware I require. So this hardware definition, let me convert into a template. That means this is what we call it as modeling. And using this template, whenever I want, I will provision the hardware. So this is what we mean by modeling and provisioning first. So with the help of modeling and provisioning, your hardware is provisioned. Now, what is the next step? Now, on this hardware, I just need to do the OS configurations, the OS patching, or OS security fixes, software installations, software patching. That is called as the configuration management. So first we need to do the modeling and provisioning. Then we need to go for the configuration, change in configuration management. So typically for modeling and provisioning, there are so many tools available for the automation. We are going to use the Terraform here. And for configuration management, we are trying to use here Ansible. Yes, there is a small overlap between these two tools. That is, using Terraform, I can even do configuration management. Using Ansible, I can even do provisioning also, but there is a challenge. Yeah, that those things, like say, you will get fully in the course that we have, like say, we designed actually. But these are all the two tools we have chosen here. Now, what is the reason these two tools? Because your application deployment environment, the target environment can be on-prem, can be the cloud. Again, on the cloud, it can be Azure, or it can be AWS, or it can be GCP, or it can be a private cloud, which is OpenStack. Now, every cloud has its own set of tools, but I don't want the team to learn so many tools so that only you get the expertise, so that only you will get the full expertise here. Instead of that, you just learn one tool which can be integrated with any kind of environments, So that is the way we designed this, right? These two tools we selected at the infra level. Again, guys, now many people ask, what exactly, as an AI guy, why I required the infra? Yes, in the AI infrastructure, let us take, you want to build your infrastructure, right, to run the models. Understand? We need to automate the whole infrastructure. Now, as a security expert or a cyber security, what's my role? Yes, all your security policies, all your security controls, everything can be, right, say, automated through the IAC, and you can deploy all your security controls here. And data ops, guys, right? Take an example. I need to create my application backend, the database environment, and I want to deploy all the changes to my database. Yes, you need to have the IAC. So that is the reason we have chosen, which has to help, right? This particular course need to complement your existing skills actually. So that is where we have chosen here the Terraform and Ansible. Yes, in the CI/CD part, right, we will be giving you the overview of the Jenkins here, just to automate the whole CI/CD. But yeah, in CI/CD, we have so many stages, and in each stage, what kind of tools we are using. So that and all is a very common thing, guys. And Jenkins is one of the CI/CD pipeline creation tool. So for all our demos, we are going to use the Jenkins here. And the same Terraform and Ansible, I can use it in the operations automation also. So the advantage of learning this IAC is you can use this IAC at infra layer. You can use this IAC at the CD layer. And you can use the IAC at the operations layer. That's why this IAC is one of the most important things. Yeah, how exactly IAC works, why we require IAC, what are all the principles of IAC, all those things we cover in depth in terms of like, and all the tools. Yes, we are assuring you guys, you can complete the Terraform certification, and we are thinking of providing the voucher for the Terraform also. So after attending this training, pretty sure everyone can complete the Terraform certification course that we are issuing. That is the kind of like the depth, coverage depth we are doing, and every practical scenarios. You have to do the complete project, end-to-end project as a part of your capstone in this also. And we have designed all the scenarios, and we are ready with all the use cases, which would need to do the automation end-to-end with the help of the IAC. This is the first part. These are all the 3 tools we are highlighting here. Now, the next most important thing, guys, the next most important thing here is, let us see, yeah, we have different tool sets and all what we are covering and what is IAC and all. I just explained you. Now, the next important part here is, look at this one today. If I take more than 90% of the applications will directly or indirectly use web application concepts. Understand? Almost all, you take any front end, it is a web application. It's a web application. So, in a traditional web application, understand? So what we do, we package the whole application, right? We deploy it on a server. And if I want to scale out the server, I'll take the whole application and I'll put it in another server. Then let me bring the load balancer. So this is the way, this is architecture means if you take in my web application, I have a UI, I have my data access logic, I have some kind of service access logic. Now this whole thing, I'm going to package it as a WAR file. Or this whole thing, I'm going to package it as a zip. So this is what I call it as my app1.war. When I deploy this one, right? On a server, you are deploying this one and users are accessing. And if you want to scale this application, I need to bring one more server, deploy the whole same app1.war, and then bring the load balancer. So here what you are trying to do, either you are deploying, means if you want to scale, either you scale the whole application or none. Right, that is the main challenge. That's why the traditional web applications will follow an architecture called as monolith architecture. So now, this is where in a modern web applications, if you take modern web applications, I have different challenges. That means I want to scale by process. That means the UI has to be scaled differently. Data access logic has to be scaled differently. Service access logic has to be scaled differently. Or the next one is, it has to be cloud native. That means I don't want the same package, means the same application to be repackaged for a different environment. To deploy to the AWS, let me package it with some AWS specific resources. And if I want to deploy this one to the Azure, again, packaging specific resources which are to the, I don't want that one. So I just want to develop a cloud native. Understand? So generally, this is basically the main 2 challenges that I need to address for a modern web application. That's why when I say I'm doing the app modernization here, yes, this is where to address these challenges over the internet, we got a concept called as 12-factor app principles. 12-factor app principles. Understand? So we follow these 12-factor app principles to convert or to design a cloud native application or a modern web application. Now, if you look at these 12 factors, here, look at this one. See here. Yeah. If you look at the 12 factors here, we call it as a code base. We call it as dependencies, config. See, explicitly declare and isolate the dependencies. That means externalize your dependencies, externalize your configuration, externalize your backing service, and build and release maintain the build process separately and release process separately and run process separately, right? These are all okay, generic. I'll explain in detail what is what and all. But here, the most interesting thing is, look at the sixth point. Execute the app as one or more stateless processes and export the services via the port bindings and scale out via the, see, now your app is in terms of stateless processes. And here we are saying that scale out via the process model. That means don't scale out via the app model, scale out via the process model. So these 3 points, if you see, these 3 points will talk about the requirement for microservices. That means you convert your application as a set of microservices. Now, how can you deliver each mic? That means UI as one microservice, data access logic as one microservice, service access logic as one microservice. Now, how can you package and deliver this one? Yes, maximize the robustness with a fast startup and graceful shutdown. Keep the development, staging, and production as similar as possible. These 2 points talk about the requirement for the containers. That means you take your microservice and what is a, let us take, this is our microservice. And I want to expose the service via the port binding. That means what is the runtime I require? Let us take, I want a Tomcat as a runtime. And there are any dependent libraries. The whole thing, I'm going to package it as a container. So whether it is a dev or a stage or a prod, I need not have any prerequisites. Just take this container and deploy it. So this is the need for containerizations in the today's world, not only here, right? Let us take an example. If you are trying to do any log analytics, example, you are using the Splunk and all, right? The whole Splunk, I can deploy it as a container. And I want to deploy the CI/CD pipelines, right? The build, I don't want to have a persistent system, right? The whole build has to happen in one container. Or if you take the more, like say AI, the whole model has to be executed. The container has to be created, execute the model and dispose it. So there is a huge requirement for the containers. Now, when I deploy my application, which is in the form of the microservices, and when I deploy this application, understand? And how can you maintain the life cycle of these containers? What do you mean by the life cycle? That is, how to get the load balancing for these containers, or how to schedule these containers, or how to achieve the high availability for these containers, and how to do the configurations for this container. So to automate the whole life cycle of these containers, we required something called as an orchestrator, container orchestrator. That is where we are using the Kubernetes. So that is the reason in a today's environment, the importance of the containerization and the importance of the Kubernetes environments today. Because everything, you're running it as a container and deploying it as a deploying on an orchestrator. So the orchestrator will maintain the life cycle of a container. The orchestrator maintains the life cycle of a container. So because in many domains, in a data domain, we are using the containers, and the data engineering and data science domain. In the AI domain, we are using the containers. And in your regular cloud domain, we are using the containers. And in the security domain, we are using the containers for log analytics and all. So that is the reason, right? This is one of the main today's, like say, the industry requirement. That is the containerization, right? That's where, right? I don't want to, like say, give a overview of this containerization and Kubernetes in the course. So we have an in-depth. That is the complete how the Dockers will work, and end-to-end how this orchestration will work. And everything is hands-on. Again, the project will be there on these topics also. And we will be working on the different flavors of Kubernetes actually. And we are going to use the production flavors only, not like we'll have on our laptop, we'll have some kind of a simple Kubernetes cluster we will create and we'll try to do the work with the project with that. No, we are going to have a full-fledged setup of the Kubernetes. So this is the, like say, the full-fledged combination right? What we brought here, guys. So the way we designed here is, see, as I told you, we will be starting with the IAC part. As a part of that, means the first thing is with DevOps fundamentals, full-fledged. We will be talking everything, means with the Agile, right? In all the aspects, right? In the cloud perspective, in the migration perspective, technical perspective, SRE perspective, everything. Then as a part of, we start with the automation with IAC. So here we are covering Terraform and Ansible. And then we are covering the Dockers and the Kubernetes here. And finally, we will give you for the whole overview of the Jenkins, which can use all these concepts to create an end-to-end CI/CD pipeline and everything. One click, your environment has to be created and the whole application has to be built, tested, and deployed. So that is the kind of automation we are trying to show here. And this is what we are covering here. And what not we are covering, what not actually means, which is not the part of our course, is working with the SCMs, like what is Gate, because many people day to day you are using the Gate. And if it is Java, how to use the Maven and all. If it is C++, how to use the CMake. And if it is .NET, how to use the MS Build. And for the package management, how to store your packages in the Nexus repository or the JFrog repository. Understand? And these things we are not covering here. Yes, you can use this as the full-fledged end-to-end course here. You can always complement this one just by going through these topics. Anyhow, we will help you to give you all the required documentation and the labs that are required to learn the other parts of your DevOps. But the core areas are, these are all the main. We identified these three areas are core areas which can be, like say, which will be useful for all the kinds of like say verticals, as well as which will be useful for all the skill sets actually. Maybe you are a developer, maybe you are a manager, maybe you are a QA guy, maybe you are an ops guy, maybe you are a security specialist, anywhere you can use, or maybe you are an AI guy. So that is the way we designed this course actually. Hope you understood the whole concept here, right?
Prof, are we opening it up for questions?
Yes, very much.
Okay. If you could just move to the deck where
Right.
we have the program,
Right.
The program content. I think we have received only a few questions. We would request, can you,
This is the
yes.
program highlights.
Yeah. The next one, I think the topics have been discussed.
Yes.
Next. Yeah. Yes.
This is the one.
Yes. So one of the question Imran is asked is that, can I manage DevOps projects independently after completing this course? So, Prof, one more thing I wanted to add is that, so are you assuming that you have to be the development guy or a software developer and then
Absolutely.
going to DevOps?
No.
Or DevOps
Absolutely.
itself is a standalone
it is a standalone discipline. And you really don't require any kind of development skill set. Understand? So whatever you require, like see, you just need to understand whenever I'm taking some example, I'll only give you the brief introduction. If it is a .NET application, what is the architecture of a .NET application? What is an architecture of a C embedded application? What is an architecture of a J2E application? What is the architecture of a database related or the AI related application? So all those things I will only give you. The architectures, I will only cover it. Understand?
Okay. So that means this, like Imran's question to be answered, that he will be able to, irrespective of his background, exactly. He can lead DevOps project by himself.
Very much he can lead after completing this.
Okay. Irrespective of whatever the architecture or whatever the backend the system belongs to. So Imran, hope the answer is clear. Please raise a thumbs up there if it is clear. Are there any other questions? Because again, I wanted to ask a few questions about how much cloud is covered here. Are you covering the Dockers, Kubernetes part of it?
Yes.
In terms of on-prem or on cloud, or how?
No.
How is
everything is on the cloud.
Okay.
Everything is on the cloud.
Okay.
And on-prem is inbuilt that I don't require specially to cover anything. So doing this example, if you take Terraform, it is again multi-cloud, and that is on-prem plus multiple public clouds. Even if you take Ansible, it is like again multi-cloud. And if you take Kubernetes, again it is on multi-cloud. And it even says like how on-prem it works, but how the cloud implementations. So we'll be covering every aspect which is related to the cloud actually.
Okay, and which cloud particularly, or you would use multi-cloud? I just want to ask. Yes, okay.
Both AWS and Azure, yes. I will be showing that.
Yes, and one more thing to add to Professor Rao, that being part of Reva ecosystem, RACE ecosystem, you will get access to AWS and Azure through our, you will also getting an edu.in email ID, and you will get a lot of facilities and credits, etc. through us. Can you go to one slide behind, or I think next slide, where we have discussed about the tools for DevOps? What would be covered in that? I think yes. So Shiv Kumar's question is, can you explain the tools you will be covering in the program for DevOps?
See, we will be using a Visual Studio Code, and we'll be using Eclipse, and we'll be using the Git, and we'll be using here and there the Python. Now, but our course will totally consist and insist only on the Terraform, Docker, Kubernetes, and Ansible and Jenkins. These are all the areas, the tools we are covering full-fledged. Understand?
Excellent. Yeah. And are there any questions? Because we are still not getting much questions. Are there anything from any other channels, Jordan? Okay, this is a good question. That what kind of career opportunities? In fact, while you were speaking, Prof, I was just doing a basic Google to see how many job opportunities on DevOps. We could see that about 6 lakhs job opportunities right now posted in Naukri and various other areas. So what kind of career opportunities or any specific designations, numbers?
I don't see. There are pure DevOps opportunities, but I want to put it in a different way actually. See, if I'm looking at cloud expert today, I want an AWS expert, but I'll always ask, do you know DevOps? I'm taking a data engineer. I'll ask him, do you know data ops? Understand? And I will take an Azure guy. Again, I'll say, have you worked with your any modern applications? Modernizing the applications or developing the cloud native application. So the DevOps has become one kind of, it is like implicit. If I say I'm a cloud expert, implicit that you should know the DevOps. Understand? If I say I'm a data engineer as a data scientist, implicit, you should know the DevOps actually. That is the way today is. So it is like you have a pure DevOps opportunities. Absolutely. See, as Shinu ma'am told, you have, that is pure DevOps opportunities. But today what I'm saying is, not knowing DevOps became actually an obstacle for you. So that is what I want to highlight in this one. Able to understand what I'm saying?
Yes, perfect. I think even in AI or even in any places, this ops or automating that whole process end to end is now becoming mandatory, right? So in our AI program as well, we focus on AI ops and that operationalizing the whole development and deploying and monitoring. It's an end-to-end SLDC cycle. Yeah, so that is clear, Prof. There are a couple of questions around the projects that they get to work during the program. What kind of projects that we will work?
Yeah, as I told you, depending upon if you are a security specialist, now I will be giving you the complete end-to-end, creating. Okay, example, if you see, I want to create a landing zone in Azure. I want to create a landing zone in AWS. So what is my security pillar asks? So the security pillar part of my landing zone has to be completely automated. So it depends upon if you are a developer and I'm going to give you a modern web application, maybe some e-commerce application and all, I'll ask you to automate from end to end and I'll give you the complete requirements, something like this. You can see here, I should have some examples. Let me just show you. Yeah. The example, if you see, this is kind of a simple case study you can see. Let us take, it is a Olkentech wants to publish their product web APIs on Azure, which gives you the basic public access to software. They don't want to invest on infrastructure and they want the entire solution to be managed on the cloud. As a part of the solution, they required the following. These are all the Azure services they require. And then the case study is, as per the business requirement, the solution is already designed and developed by using 12-factor app principles. And the following artifacts are ready. SQL DB schema, source code for your web API services written in .NET Core 5.1 with Docker files. Scenario 1, you need to create the DevOps pipeline using Azure DevOps or Jenkins to maintain the code repo at Azure Repos or GitHub. Build the pipeline, host the web API application on Azure App Service, that is serverless. Scenario 2 is you need to create the DevOps pipeline using DevOps to maintain the code repo at the Azure Repos and build pipeline to build publishing web API application to ACR and deploy to the AKS. And we have to use the whole Terraform to create the Azure storage account, blob storage, storage logs, ACR, AKS cluster, Azure SQL, Azure App Service, everything you need to have it and which you need to include in the release pipeline. So this is kind of one case study and the same, what exactly the case study we have and what are all your deliverables here. So everything we will be giving you. So like these, we will give you different types of case studies which are ready and on the security side, on the AI side, and on the regular for QA guys and the developers for everyone. So we have different types of scenarios readily available.
Yes. And that is our differentiator, everyone, that any programs that which we design will have hands-on projects. Otherwise, and these projects like Professor Rao, these are real-time industry-grade projects where you can showcase in your resume, right? That's our plus point. There is a question, Prof, around DevSecOps. Are we covering at least some part of security during the?
In the DevOps fundamentals, I'll cover you what are all the kind of DevSecOps tools that we will be using. What is the DevSecOps and how it is today? Because no more we are using the word called as DevSecOps. Now it is called as a Synapse. So what is the difference between the DevSecOps and the Synapse? And when it was DevSecOps, what was the tool sets we are using and when to use what kind of tool in the whole pipeline, where to use what kind of tool. That I will be covering, as I told you, in different perspectives I will be covering in the DevOps fundamentals. Understand?
Perfect. I think, Rakesh, you are particularly looking for any tools, let us know. Otherwise, it is... we would
I'll tell you, see, for code quality check, we are going to use, I show you the Sonar Cube. And for like, say, software composition analysis, we are using the white source. And for static SAST, we are going to use like, say, check marks. And for Dash, I'll show you using like, say, Zap or Veracode, anything. And for pen test, I'll be using the tools like this. I can show you what are all the tools in which stage you can integrate also. Understand?
Excellent. Very extensive. So while we might list a few things, Professor Rao is an expert in the area, and I'm sure that your individual questions can be customized as we go along in the program, right? Prof, if you can just move to the next, we have a QR code ready to, I think sample capstone project also, few things are put here. Yes. At the end of it, you will, Prof, you want to say anything?
Nothing. We already explained that.
Yeah. So we have because it's going to be a certified DevOps specialist course, there is also going to be certain assessments so that you can be rest assured that your certification matters and it is being assessed and given by Reva University, right? So we will have these processes in place. Can you move to the next, Prof? Yeah, this is what your certification would look like. You can, of course, use it for various purposes. And next slide, we have a QR code. We would want you to look at it and take this QR code and then register. Please use your camera to scan it, or you can use the link which I have shared it in the chat. And more information is there available. We are starting this course early January because of the holidays which are coming up. And every course we will not take more than 30 participants because we want to really give focused attention to each of you. And there are a lot of other benefits that you get as part of RAISE ecosystem. Some of your participants are here and I'm sure that they will vouch for it. So please do participate, register for this course. This is going to be not as an additional certification, but as a mandatory certification, which has to be there in every resume today if you are looking at an IT related career, right? So please do look at it. It's a very, very, I think this is the automation with DevOps is going to be the go-to kind of careers in 2025 and 2026, unless there is a disruption in the technologies. But this is in high demand job, and mentors like Professor Rao can take you to, because he has been doing this and he will be the right mentor for you. So we are hoping that you will register for this program. It's a 50 hours program planned on online as well as in campus mode. Those who are in and around Bangalore, please attend from the campus. And those who are not able to can attend online. And we would have a Sunday batch as well as a Saturday batch. And we will finalize the schedule based on the registrations and your interest. And it's completely customizable in terms of, say, duration, etc. But it's overall a 50 hours course, right? So any questions around the course or specific certifications, please, you can ask now. Or otherwise, if everything is good, we would want to see you all in that certification course where Professor Rao will go in depth, very, very practically, and take you to make you become DevOps specialist. So with that, I think we are through. If any final questions, we will wait for a minute. But in the meantime, Professor, it's always a pleasure to listen to you and understand how things are changing. You are on top of the things, and something when you just mentioned that DevSecOps is no more the go-to terminologies and it is moved to Synapse. I think we also did Synapse, one of the sessions earlier with Professor Rao. Please look at that under Reva University Online. And I am just sharing the Reva Online YouTube on that course. We'll wait for a minute for any questions. Sure. If you have any questions, please ask. Let me share the Synapse which Professor Rao himself has done. Second. Yeah.
It is without. So unhealthy it is 1 of 1. And it is high. Now look at what is your remediation step? Manual.
Sorry. Yeah. So please go through this YouTube as well. And we are hoping that you will find it very useful. So with that, let's close. I know we are 15 minutes late, but thank you so much, Prof. And thanks